Christopher Columbus. His name is synonymous with one of the most pivotal moments in world history. Yet behind the legendary figure lies a story far more complex, one of ambition and accomplishment, of flaws and failures, and ultimately, one of a legacy both celebrated and contested. Let's take a journey into the life of Christopher Columbus, the man, the mariner, and the symbol. To understand Columbus, we begin in the bustling port city of Genoa in modern-day Italy, where he was born in 1451. His early years were shaped by the sea. As a young boy, Columbus was captivated by maps, ships, and tales of adventure. His father was a wool weaver, and while the family wasn't wealthy, it wasn't destitute either. But Columbus, restless and ambitious, longed for something more than the life that awaited him in Genoa. By his teens, Columbus was already aboard merchant vessels, traveling the Mediterranean and the Aegean seas. The salty air, the ceaseless winds, the sun rising over uncharted horizons. These experiences ignited in him a dream to sail farther than anyone ever had. By the time he reached adulthood, Columbus had become an experienced sailor, proficient in navigation and fluent in Latin, the scholarly language of maps and maritime knowledge. The 15th century was an age of exploration. Europe was expanding its understanding of the world, but many believed that navigating westward across the Atlantic was suicidal due to the unknown and potentially vast distance to Asia. Most sailors simply stayed the course with known routes around Africa. But Columbus? He wasn't like most sailors. Columbus was a man with a theory. He was convinced that by sailing westwards instead of east around Africa, one could reach Asia much faster. He studied the works of classical scholars and miscalculated the size of the earth, significantly underestimating how vast the Atlantic truly was. Yet despite these critical errors, Columbus's determination never wavered. He became obsessed with the idea. By the early 1480s, Columbus had his vision, but no means to achieve it. He lacked ships, crew, and financial backing. So he began his quest to sell his idea to European monarchs. He first approached the King of Portugal, John II, hoping the established maritime nation would invest in his planned voyage. However, the Portuguese court dismissed him, deeming the idea impractical and risky. Undeterred, Columbus turned to Spain. There he found an audience with Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand of Aragon and Castile. At the time, Spain was still embroiled in the Reconquista, a military campaign to retake territories from Muslim rule. But Columbus's timing eventually proved fortuitous. After years of persistence and rejection in 1492, the Spanish monarchs finally agreed to sponsor his voyage. Why, you ask? Because they saw potential, not just for riches from Asia, but for spreading Christianity to new lands. With backing secured, Columbus set off with 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. Setting sail from Palos in August 1492, the voyage was perilous. Morale on board dipped precipitously as weeks turned to months with no land in sight. Rumors of mutiny spread among the crew. But then, on the morning of October 12, 1492, land was spotted. The fleet had reached an island in the Bahamas. Columbus believed he had found islands near the Asian continent, though in reality, he had stumbled upon a landmass Europeans had no knowledge of, the Americas. They explored, meeting the indigenous peoples and observing their customs. He noted their hospitality and curiosity, but also saw them as potential converts or subjects. Columbus made 3 more voyages after 1492. From the Caribbean to Central and South America, he encountered more indigenous cultures, often misunderstanding, or worse, exploiting these societies. His reports to Spain were filled with tales of riches, but the glittering gold he sought remained elusive. Over time, his governance of the new lands came under scrutiny. Complaints of tyranny and mismanagement led to his arrest and return to Spain in 1500. Though stripped of his title as governor, he retained enough favor with the crown to attempt another voyage in 1502. By the time of his death in 1506, Columbus was far from the hero he had once been. He died in relative obscurity, never fully understanding the magnitude of his discovery. To him, it was always about Asia. He never grasped the scale of the continents he had brought into the European imagination. And then there's the other side of Columbus's story. His arrival in the Americas marked not just a meeting of worlds, but the beginning of consequences that would ripple across centuries. For the indigenous populations of the Americas, his expeditions heralded conquest, disease, and colonization on an unimaginable scale. Entire civilizations were disrupted or outright eradicated. What Columbus saw as a triumph was, for many others, a catastrophe. Today, Columbus stands as both a symbol of exploration and human ambition, and simultaneously as a figure of deep controversy. To some, he represents bravery and the spirit of discovery. To others, he embodies exploitation and the darker side of human history. The life of Christopher Columbus is a study in complexities, a reminder that history is never just black or white. It's shaped by context, by perspectives, and by the enduring impact of decisions made long ago. What's clear is that no matter how you view him, Columbus irrevocably changed the course of history, for better or worse. So the next time you hear the name Christopher Columbus, pause and consider the full weight of his legacy. Beyond the hero or the villain lies a man who dared to venture where few would, and whose decisions would reshape the world forever.